Have you ever stopped to truly consider the sheer volume of noise, information, and opinion that bombards your senses every single day? Not just the audible sounds, but the constant stream of data, headlines, social media updates, unsolicited advice, background chatter. It's an invisible deluge, a relentless assault on our attention and, more insidiously, on our inner peace. We live in an age saturated with input, where silence is a rare commodity and passive consumption has become the default. But have you ever wondered about the cost? What if the very act of listening, of letting the world pour into your ears unfiltered, is subtly yet systematically shaping your reality, dictating your mood, and perhaps even paving the path toward a life you don't want? What if the key to ruining your life, or conversely reclaiming it, lies in mastering what you allow past the gateway of your ears into the sanctuary of your mind? Stay with me, because today we're not just talking about noise, we're talking about the hidden architecture of your mental well-being. And I'm going to reveal not only how vulnerable you might be, but exactly how to fortify yourself and take back control. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the world out there, you need to hear this. Let's define what we're up against. Let's call it auditory toxicity. Not just loud sounds, but the detrimental impact of the constant influx of negative, manipulative, or simply overwhelming information and opinions that seep into our consciousness through our ears and eyes, shaping our thoughts, feelings, and ultimately our actions. It's the mental equivalent of constantly breathing polluted air. You might not notice the immediate damage, but the long-term effects can be devastating. Think about the daily news cycle. It thrives on urgency, conflict, and fear. Disaster strikes, political battles rage, tragedies unfold, and it's delivered to us 24/7, optimized to grab our attention and trigger an emotional response. We feel compelled to stay informed, but at what price? Study after study shows a direct correlation between heavy negative news consumption and increased levels of anxiety, stress, depression, and a phenomenon called mean world syndrome, the belief that the world is a much more dangerous place than it actually is. Our brains aren't wired for this constant barrage of global crises delivered with high emotional intensity. It keeps our nervous system in a perpetual state of low-grade fight or flight, exhausting our mental and emotional resources, leaving us feeling helpless and cynical. We absorb the negativity, the division, the outrage, and it subtly colors our perception of our own lives, our communities, and our future. Then there's the glittering, curated, and often toxic landscape of social media. It promises connection, but often delivers comparison and inadequacy. We scroll endlessly through highlight reels of others' lives, the perfect vacations, the career successes, the flawless families, forgetting that we're comparing our behind-the-scenes reality to their meticulously crafted public image. This comparison trap is a potent source of auditory and visual toxicity. It whispers insidious lies. You're not good enough. Your life is boring. Everyone else is happier, more successful, more attractive. We internalize these messages, letting them erode our self-esteem and contentment. Beyond comparison, social media bombards us with echo chambers that reinforce our existing biases, floods us with misinformation and fake news designed to manipulate our emotions and opinions, and exposes us to cyberbullying and online negativity that can leave deep psychological scars. The algorithms are designed to keep us hooked, feeding us content that triggers strong reactions, positive or negative, keeping us scrolling, listening, absorbing often long after it has ceased to serve us, leaving us feeling drained, anxious, and strangely disconnected despite the illusion of connection. And it's not just the media. Consider the weight of other people's opinions. We are social creatures, hardwired to seek belonging and validation. But in our hyper-connected world, we are exposed to an unprecedented volume of opinions, from friends, family, colleagues, influencers, and complete strangers online. When we give too much power to these external voices, when our sense of self-worth becomes dependent on likes, comments, and the approval of others, we begin to lose touch with our own inner voice, our own authentic desires and values. We start making choices not based on what feels right for us, but on what we think will impress others or avoid criticism. This constant seeking of external validation is a form of auditory toxicity that leads to insecurity, anxiety, people-pleasing behavior, and a gnawing sense of not truly living our own lives. We let the shoulds and musts dictated by others drown out the quiet wisdom of our own intuition. Even something as seemingly innocuous as music can contribute. While music can be incredibly uplifting and healing, certain genres or lyrics, especially when consumed passively and constantly, can subtly influence our mood, energy levels, and even our behavior. Think about the difference in your internal state after listening to an hour of angry, aggressive lyrics versus an hour of calm, ambient soundscapes or uplifting melodies. What we allow into our auditory environment shapes our internal environment. Constant exposure to negativity, cynicism, or aggression, even in musical form, can lower our vibration and contribute to a negative mental state. You might think, this sounds dramatic. Can listening really have such a profound impact? The science is increasingly clear. Constant exposure to negative stimuli, whether it's news headlines, social media arguments, or critical opinions, keeps our amygdala, the brain's fear center, perpetually activated. This triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol. Chronically elevated cortisol levels are linked to a host of problems: impaired immune function, weight gain, sleep disturbances, digestive issues, and increased risk of anxiety and depression. Furthermore, the constant dopamine hits from social media notifications and algorithmically tailored content create addictive loops in the brain, hijacking our attention spans and making it harder to focus on deeper, more meaningful tasks. Our brains are literally being rewired by the toxic auditory and informational environment we inhabit, often without our conscious consent. So, how does this auditory toxicity manifest in your daily life? The symptoms are often subtle at first, easily dismissed as just a bad day or being stressed. But pay attention. Do you find yourself experiencing persistent anxiety, a constant feeling of unease or impending doom, even when there's no immediate threat? Does a cloud of low-grade depression or persistent negativity seem to follow you around, draining the color from your experiences? Perhaps your self-esteem has taken a hit. You constantly compare yourself to others and find yourself lacking, plagued by self-doubt and a harsh inner critic that echoes the negativity you've absorbed. Maybe you struggle to concentrate, your mind flitting from one worry to the next, unable to focus on work, reading, or even conversations. These are the mental footprints of an overloaded, overstimulated mind. The effects aren't just mental. Your body keeps the score. Do you struggle with insomnia, lying awake at night with thoughts racing, unable to switch off the mental noise? Do you feel perpetually fatigued, even after a full night's sleep, lacking the energy to engage fully with life? Perhaps you experience frequent tension headaches, muscle aches, or even digestive problems like stomach aches or irritable bowel syndrome. These physical symptoms are often your body's way of screaming that it's overwhelmed by chronic stress, much of which can be traced back to the constant mental and emotional agitation fueled by auditory toxicity. And look at your behavior. Do you find yourself withdrawing socially, feeling too drained or anxious to connect with others? Maybe procrastination has become your default mode, the sheer volume of mental noise making it impossible to gather the focus and motivation to start, let alone finish, important tasks. Are you more irritable, snapping at loved ones over minor issues because your internal reserves are depleted? Do you find it increasingly difficult to make decisions, feeling paralyzed by overwhelm or the fear of judgment fueled by the opinions you've absorbed? Imagine Sarah, who starts her day scrolling through angry political debates online and ends it watching sensationalized news reports. Throughout the day, she feels anxious, irritable, and finds fault in everything her partner does. Or think of Mark, constantly comparing his career progress to his peers on LinkedIn, feeling inadequate and losing motivation for his own projects. Or Aisha, who internalizes every critical comment on her social media posts, letting it dictate her self-worth and paralyze her creativity. These aren't isolated incidents. They are patterns, cycles, fueled by the toxic input we allow into our minds through our ears and eyes. This isn't about weakness. It's about recognizing the potent effect our environment has on our internal state. But the good news, the incredibly empowering news, is that you are not helpless. You can choose to change the input. You can perform a mental detox. How do we begin this crucial mental detox? It starts with conscious awareness and deliberate action. The first, most fundamental step is to filter your sources. You wouldn't knowingly drink polluted water. Why consume polluted information? Become a discerning consumer. Question where your news comes from. Is it balanced, or does it rely on sensationalism and fear-mongering to keep you hooked? Prioritize sources known for journalistic integrity and impartiality. Unfollow accounts on social media that consistently leave you feeling drained, inadequate, or angry. Curate your feed to be a source of inspiration, learning, and genuine connection, not comparison and conflict. Be ruthless in protecting your mental space from sources that are actively harming your well-being. This isn't about ignorance, it's about strategic information consumption. The second powerful strategy is to limit your time of exposure. Even high-quality information, consumed excessively, can be overwhelming. Constant connectivity creates constant stimulation. You need to reclaim boundaries. Set specific, limited times for checking news and social media. Maybe 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, instead of constant scrolling throughout the day. Use app timers or built-in phone features to monitor and enforce these limits. Crucially, create tech-free zones or tech-free times. Make your bedroom a sanctuary for rest, free from screens. Establish periods, perhaps during meals or the first and last hour of your day, where you consciously disconnect from the digital deluge and reconnect with yourself, your loved ones, or the physical world around you. This isn't deprivation, it's liberation. Third, cultivate the superpower of mindfulness, or attention plana. Mindfulness is simply the practice of paying attention to the present moment, non-judgmentally. It's the antidote to a mind lost in future worries or past regrets. Simple practices like focusing on your breath for a few minutes each day, as we discussed earlier, can train your attention muscle. A body scan meditation where you bring awareness to different parts of your body can ground you instantly. Even mindful walking, paying attention to the sensation of your feet hitting the ground, the sights and sounds around you, can pull you out of the mental noise. Mindfulness doesn't stop thoughts, but it allows you to observe them without getting carried away, creating that crucial space we talked about. It helps you become aware of the toxic input as it's happening and choose not to engage. Fourth, arm yourself with critical thinking. Don't be a passive receptacle for information and opinions. Question everything. When you hear a news report, ask, what's the source? Is there bias? Are they presenting facts or opinions? Are they using emotionally charged language? When you see a social media post, consider the motive behind it. Is it authentic or curated? When someone offers an opinion, ask yourself, does this resonate with my own values and intuition, or am I just absorbing it because it was stated confidently? Actively seek out diverse perspectives, even those you disagree with, to avoid getting trapped in echo chambers. Fact-check information before accepting or sharing it. Engaging your critical thinking faculties acts as a powerful filter against misinformation and manipulation. And finally, actively surround yourself with positivity. This isn't about toxic positivity or ignoring problems. It's about consciously choosing uplifting input to counterbalance the negativity. Make an effort to connect with people who inspire you, support you, and leave you feeling energized, not drained. Limit time with those who are perpetually negative or critical. Choose music, podcasts, books, and movies that elevate your spirit, teach you something valuable, or simply bring you joy. Practice gratitude. Consciously acknowledging the good things in your life, however small, rewires your brain to notice more positivity. Consider positive affirmations or journaling to reinforce a more constructive inner dialogue. You are actively curating your mental environment just as you would curate your physical home. Make it a place you want to live in. Remember, the core message here is the power of your choice. You are not merely a passive victim of the information age, you are the gatekeeper of your own mind. While you cannot control everything the world throws at you, You absolutely can control what you choose to focus on, what you allow to take root in your thoughts, and how you respond. Every time you choose to turn off the negative news, to unfollow a toxic account, to question an opinion, to practice mindfulness, or to focus on gratitude, you are taking back your power. You are actively shaping your inner world, which inevitably shapes your outer reality. This isn't about building impenetrable walls and living in ignorance. It's about building discerning filters and strong foundations. It's about understanding that your mental energy is a precious, finite resource, and choosing to invest it wisely in input that nourishes, empowers, and aligns with the life you truly want to live. Letting your ears, and by extension your passive consumption habits, guide your mind unchecked is a recipe for a life dictated by external chaos. But choosing consciously, filtering intentionally, and cultivating inner peace is the path to reclaiming your sovereignty, your focus, and your joy. So, I urge you, start today. Implement just one of these strategies. Maybe it's limiting your news intake to once a day. Maybe it's unfollowing 5 social media accounts that make you feel bad. Maybe it's committing to 5 minutes of mindful breathing each morning. Which strategy will you commit to starting today? Let me know in the comments below, declaring it makes it real. Share this video with anyone you know who feels overwhelmed by the noise of the modern world. They might need to hear this just as much as you did. Please hit that like button if you found value here, and be sure to subscribe for more content dedicated to protecting your mental space and building a life of intention and well-being. You have the power to change the input, to quiet the noise, and to cultivate the peace you deserve. Thank you for investing this time in yourself. Your journey to a calmer, clearer mind starts now.